And we're back. This is Hook and Ladder. This is the last week of the regular season.
Week 13.
Week 13. It was an exciting week of games.
Probably one of the best week of games in a long, long time.
Chaos was the order of the day. To start us off, we'll talk about Thursday night, the Egg Bowl. Not as exciting as we were kind of hoping it would have been.
No.
But Ole Miss, 10-2.
Yeah.
They took down Mississippi State 31-21.
First time in program history, 10 wins in the regular season. So good for them and good for Lane Kiffin.
That's right. Friday night, Cincinnati knocked off East Carolina. They remain undefeated, 12-0.
I watched this game. East Carolina really threw some punches at Cincinnati in the first quarter, blocked a field goal. And second quarter, Cincinnati was basically like, yeah, we're the better team. Let's get it going. Scored 21 points in the second quarter and basically ended it. The 7 points East Carolina scored in the fourth quarter was basically some garbage time, TDs. But Cincinnati kind of did what they had to do, win with some style points. And East Carolina's not a bad football team.
No.
Cincinnati basically just manhandled them, took control of the game in the second quarter and looked pretty good doing it.
That's right. Moving right along, Iowa beat Nebraska. This is one of those games where Nebraska had it in hand and just gave it away in the fourth quarter.
Yep. 19 points in the fourth quarter scored by Iowa. An epic collapse by Nebraska. I feel really bad for them, man. We've talked about it on the show before. I'm a big fan of Scott Frost. It's not easy to win at Nebraska these days. This isn't the 90s anymore. It's tough to recruit there. It's tough to recruit against teams in that conference, in the division. They've got to go out and get guys from Texas and California who are just three-star guys that maybe other schools don't really want. It's either, hey, you can go to San Jose State or you can come to Nebraska. It's going to be tough to win that way. But I'm pulling for Frost. I like the guy. I think he's a good coach. He needs a bit more time. He's a quarterback.
North Carolina lost to NC State. I thought North Carolina had this one in hand.
This was an awesome game. I mean, starts off, NC State takes a commanding 14-0 lead. Second half, North Carolina's running with Sam Howell all that half long. They get right back in there. They take a pretty big lead. Late in the fourth, NC State scores like a 64-yard touchdown pass. Somehow gets the ball back with like a minute left and scores a touchdown with just a handful of seconds left on the clock to take that 34-30 lead. Mac Brown, man, I don't know if he's the answer at North Carolina anymore. I mean, these are just games where they need to win and you just find a way to lose them. They're 6-6, 3-5 in the ACC, which isn't the answer when you have a QB like Sam Howell. You've got some of the skill guys they do. NC State's a good football team.
Yeah.
They basically just played their way. Well, they didn't make the ACC championship game. They were on par to do it until Wake Forest won their game yesterday. But NC State has a good season. They're 9-3, 6-2 in the ACC, but massively disappointing season for North Carolina.
Yeah, they've given away a lot of games late this season. Moving right along, Arkansas took down Missouri, 34-17. Arkansas. Sam Pittman, looks like he's the answer in Arkansas.
Yeah, they're 8-4 and 4-4 in the conference. Not a great showing, but massively improved over the last year. Yeah. And he's got them kind of going in the right, and they're definitely in the right direction. He's just going to start recruiting a little bit better. One thing about those kids in Arkansas, when there's a talented player in Arkansas, usually those kids want to stay home and play for the Razorbacks. Very, what do you call it? They want, be a home school spirit, whatever you want to call it. Arkansas is one of those states where the kids really kind of would prefer not to leave. So hopefully Sam can continue to recruit well. Missouri's not a bad football team. 6-6, 3-5 in the SEC. Tyler Badge is the best running back in the country, in my opinion. Even though he's on a fairly garbage team, that dude just runs hard. He's fast. He's fun to watch. It's the only reason I even tuned into this game. But Arkansas, they're the story of the year. Sam Pittman or Shane Beamer, in my opinion, for SEC Coach of the Year.
I agree. Moving on to Saturday's games. This is where it gets exciting. We'll start off with the Georgia Tech game. Georgia manhandles Tech 45-0. George Pickens was back. Got some JT Daniels in the game. Brock Bowers showed out.
Brock Bowers had a huge game. Left off the Mackey list as the nation's top tight end. Probably going to be an All-American. Just caught, I think, 4 balls for 100 yards, 2 TDs, including a slant that he took to the house from 77 yards and outran everybody. But yeah, more of what we've been seeing from Georgia all season, just efficient offense, dominating defense. I thought Stetson Bennett looked a lot better in this game than he has the last 2 games. Offense, kind of thought they were sluggish the last month of the season, but really they're not that bad.
No.
They can put up some points. They've got talented dudes, but it's a defense that carries the team.
Yeah. Moving right along. Ohio State, number 2 in the country, lost to Michigan, 42-27. We didn't actually watch most of this game. We were watching the Georgia game because we didn't want to jinx Michigan from winning this game. But Michigan pulled it out.
The week before, I had this game, the Michigan State-Ohio State game on, and it was a blowout. And I was like, I'm not going to put this game on because I'm hoping it's a good game. It's kind of like the whole superstition thing I got going on. So we tuned in, a
few minutes left to go in the fourth quarter?
It was a few minutes left to go in the third quarter, actually, when we first tuned in. What I saw was Michigan completely outmanning Ohio State on both sides of the football, both lines of scrimmage. They were running the football at will. Ohio State was moving the ball. Stroud threw for well over 300 yards. They didn't give up too many big pass plays, but they were still giving up plays down the field to, it looked like Garrett Wilson and Olave with the 2 guys. I know number 11, I can't pronounce his name, but had a crazy killer catch. But Michigan was just running all over them. Ohio State knew what was coming and just could not stop it. And at times it looked like they were just letting them run through the holes. It was that bad. But huge win for Michigan. Harbaugh needed it. Ohio State still, in my opinion, is the better team. Ohio State, in my opinion, is still one of the top 4 teams in the country. But they're a 2-loss team that hasn't even won their division, not even talking about conference titles. So they're out. They're a good football team, but I like seeing new blood in the playoffs, so I'm not disappointed. Now, Michigan's most likely in.
They have to win this weekend.
Which they have to win this weekend. Everybody thought it'd be Wisconsin. Well, they lost to Minnesota. Iowa hung on to beat Nebraska, so it's going to be Michigan versus Iowa. I don't think Iowa's going to be able to hang with them. So it looks like Michigan's going to be in the playoffs. This is their first time in the playoffs. So that's good for them. And Ohio State will just continue to do what they do, recruiting. They'll be right back here next year. We'll be talking about them again as one of the top 4 teams.
And they'll probably end up at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, Ohio State's a great team. They just keep reloading.
That's right. Moving right along.
They're going to kill somebody in a New Year's 16 bowl game.
Yes. There was a thriller on the Plains Saturday night. Alabama, Auburn. This was a 4 overtime game. Auburn had this game in hand, and Tank Bigsby decided to go out of bounds instead of go down with about 2 minutes left to go in the game, and it cost them the game.
40 seconds, which would have basically ended the game, which sucks because Tank Bigsby's great, and he's from right here in LaGrange, so we like Tank Bigsby. Half of Auburn's team is from LaGrange. But a crazy game. Never in a million years would have suspected Alabama going without a touchdown into the last 30 seconds of the fourth quarter. They were without Williams. In my opinion, he's the difference maker on that offense. He can take the top off of a D. You let him get by you and it's all over. He wasn't there. He got ejected in the first half from targeting. So he missed the rest of the game. That was, to me, was the difference. Although Alabama's offensive line has a lot of trouble blocking. And my God, as good as Bryce Young is, he has zero pocket awareness. There are dudes collapsing in on him, and he kind of doesn't know what to do. Kind of does one of these like a rabbit, not knowing what's going on. He kind of bounces around. A few times he scrambled. A few times he kind of got outside the pocket, made some plays. For the most part, he didn't know how to react when he was getting pressured like that. But yeah, give him credit. As soon as they got to overtime, you kind of knew what was the writing on the wall. Auburn hung in there, made some really good plays, including a one-handed catch, but Alabama just too much for him, too talented.
Right. Moving right along. Notre Dame remains, they're 11-1 now. They knocked off Stanford 45-14. I didn't see any of this game. But Notre Dame is poised. If one of these top 4 teams decides to lose next week, they stand to move up.
I think they need a little help. But hey, Stanford lost a football game, so if you've been watching the show, you know how much I hate Stanford. Not a big Notre Dame fan, but when they beat Stanford, I'm cheering for the Irish. So yeah, I mean, they look good. They've been looking good for a while. They had that stretch kind of like mid-September to like early October where they were winning games in very unimpressive fashion. That's changed in the last month. They've been killing folks. Yes. And yeah, like you said, they're poised. They've got to get some help. They're ready to take someone's spot if the opportunity arises.
That's correct. Another team that is poised to jump into the top 4, Oklahoma State knocked off Oklahoma in Bedlam 37-33. It looked like they're in the third quarter, early fourth quarter, Oklahoma had this game kind of in hand.
Yeah, I was ready to come do this show with you and talk about how Oklahoma State choked yet again, like they do every year. Third quarter, they missed a field goal. They threw a pick that led to an Oklahoma touchdown. They fumbled or muffed a punt that led to an Oklahoma touchdown. I thought this thing was over. All of a sudden, Sanders runs for a 37-yard score. They get a couple stops, and they end up punting. Oklahoma muffs the punt. They score a touchdown to go ahead. Defense almost gave it up at the end, but came up with a big sack on fourth down when they needed to. Caleb Williams looks really, really good.
And old.
He does look, he's like 35 years old. But I mean, he's a good-looking player. This loss really wasn't on him, and you can see during the game when it finally ended, he took it hard. But, man, he didn't have a whole lot of time. He was getting pressured the whole game. Oklahoma State was rushing 3 for the most part and getting home, including that game-ending play. But, Lincoln Riley bolts for USC today. Huge surprise. His name was one of the leading candidates for LSU. My opinion on the matter is Lincoln Riley knows he's not going to win in the SEC. Lincoln Riley has got to the playoffs a couple of years, won the Big Ten, but he just can't get any further. I think that's just a kind of a, I don't want to cuss on the show here, but that's kind of a bitch move in my opinion. It's easier to win in the Pac-12 than it is in the SEC. He bolts for USC. Every Oklahoma fan, and I'm on your side, Oklahoma fans, every one of you, I guarantee, will say your program is an elite program, and it's a better program right now than USC is. USC is a dumpster fire. Now, easy with a guy like Lincoln Riley to get all those California kids to stay because they've all been bolting. Bryce Young, quarterback Alabama, JT Daniels at Georgia, DJ Oogly Moogly, I can't pronounce his name, at Clemson. I mean, these dudes are leaving the state to go elsewhere. Lincoln Riley can get those kids to stay, so he can rebuild that program. But Oklahoma fans have got to be pissed right now. I think it's a bitch move.
Yeah.
Didn't want to go to the SEC and lose a couple games this season because it's a lot harder than the Big 10, or Big 12 rather. He's still losing a few games there this year. Oklahoma, in my opinion, is world's better job than USC is right now, and he ditches them for that gig. I kind of thought it might be a slap in the face if he left him for LSU. Same thing. Oklahoma believes it's an elite program, and I believe it is too. But let's face facts. Lincoln Riley hasn't actually won anything of substantial since, other than the Big 12 championship. But when you're playing Oklahoma, it's championship, national championship or bust, much like it is at Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia now, Alabama. So I get it. Yeah. I just think it's kind of a bitch move for him to bail like that.
Yeah, and the rumor has it that Bob Stoops is going to coach the bowl game.
Yeah, good for him.
So good for him. And who knows, he may end up staying and take it over the reins.
And look, we're going on about Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma. Let's give credit to Oklahoma State. They were down. They battled back. That defense is really good defense. They let up some plays, which everybody lets up plays to Oklahoma. Caleb Williams, he just throws the ball up with these crazy good wide receivers. They make plays. I got to give them credit. They are 11-1. They're going to go play Baylor in the Big 12 championship game next week, probably beat Baylor, and they are looking right there for that fourth spot in the playoffs should a team like Alabama, Tennessee, or Michigan lose.
Tennessee?
Or not, Cincinnati. I don't know why I said Tennessee. I got the T right there.
Yeah. Baylor knocked off Texas Tech 27-24. Baylor's going to play in the Big 12 championship game next week against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. So we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see if Bohannon's back at QB for Baylor. He's kind of the difference maker. This game was a little closer than it needed to be, but I think him being not 100% out was the reason. So we'll see what happens next week if he's healthy.
Oregon knocked down Oregon State 38-29. They take on Utah next week, correct?
The team that just abused them last week, which was a game that I thought Oregon was going to lose this one because they got abused that bad. They found a way to win. A little closer than the actual game was. The score was a little closer than the game was. I expect nothing different next week. I think Utah is going to do more of the same. They're just going to physically abuse them. I think it'll probably be a low-scoring game, and Utah will pull it out.
Moving right along, Michigan State, Mel Tucker signed the big contract, $95 million, I believe it was, for 10 years.
Way to
Congratulations.
flirt with another team and get that money, buddy.
That's
Good
right.
job.
Good job for you. James Franklin still at Penn State. There was rumors that he would go to USC, but I think he got extended on that deal.
He did. He got extended this year. Do you remember what I said before the season when we were doing this show? I expected James Franklin to not be the coach of Penn State. I'm still standing by that. There's still time for him to leave, but this is not the season they wanted. 7-5, 4-5 in the Big Ten. They got embarrassed a couple of times, and Michigan State. The word that was like public was they had like 15, 20 guys out with the flu, according to Chris Fowler on not one of Chris Fowler's, Reese Davis, I think it was. Maybe it was Chris Fowler. Hell, I can't tell the two guys apart anymore. I think it was Reese Davis who said on game day, the unofficial words, more like 30, 35 guys that had the flu. And they still put 30 on Penn State and win the game. Great season for Michigan State and Mel Tucker. They're 10-2, probably going to a New Year's Six bowl game. Probably won't be as good, I would imagine. Ohio State will get that big one.
They'll get the Rose Bowl.
Michigan State will probably get like a Capital One or an Outback, but it'll still be a New Year's Day bowl game.
Be that 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock start. BYU knocked off USC, who's got their new head coach, and BYU another good season, 10-2.
Yeah,
took care of Southern California.
Decent team this year. They were fun to watch. They put up points. They were physical on defense. 10-2 is a really, really good regular season. They'll go to a bowl, probably win their bowl.
Probably points at a bowl.
Yeah, they're going to always stay in that West Coast, kind of range where the bowl matchups really aren't all that close.
Right.
So I expect them to win whatever bowl they're in.
Right.
Good for them.
Minnesota knocked off Wisconsin. Wisconsin, they find a way to lose a game right when they're poised to play for the title.
Yep.
I just don't get it.
Take out Minnesota, you're in the conference championship game, and they shit the bed.
Nope, pretty much. The boys in LSU fought and 1-1 for Ed.
Man, they had no business winning this game. Poor bastard at QB kept getting sacked. Johnson, I think it is, kept getting sacked and sacked and sacked. And he wasn't taking, like, easy sacks. He was getting pummeled back there at Orgeron's last game. They were playing for him. They were playing for each other. Texas A&M basically said, hey, our whole season was beating Alabama. Well, guess what? You just lost 4 games this season. So, yeah, that's cool. You beat Alabama. Congratulations. Have fun in, the Music City Bowl, dude. Or, have fun in Shreveport at the Independence Bowl.
There you go.
Really disappointing season for Texas A&M. They were one of the teams poised to maybe challenge Alabama for the SEC West crown. Jimbo Fisher, once again, doesn't get it done.
Pittsburgh knocked off Syracuse 31-14. Pittsburgh, a great season, 10-2.
10-2, 7-1 in the ACC. They're going to the ACC championship game next week against
Wake Forest. Who beat Boston College 41-10. Another 10-2 season for Wake Forest.
A must-win game for Wake Forest to get in. They beat the hell out of Boston College.
Yeah. Well, there won't be an opportunity to go to the Orange Bowl because the Orange Bowl is going to be the other location for the playoffs. So maybe the Peach Bowl, I think it might be.
Possible, yeah.
So moving right along, Clemson. I think you called South Carolina was going to take them to the woodshed. Was it you who said that?
I don't remember. I thought South Carolina would keep it a little bit closer than they did, but they got their ass beat 30-0. South Carolina kind of blew their wad, beating Florida and Auburn the last couple of weeks, and basically didn't show up to play Clemson. They were a massive rivalry game. Yeah. Just didn't show up.
And wouldn't you know it, Clemson's 9-3. They got another chance to win 10 games,
10
probably get
game.
in the top 20.
Clemson, in my opinion, the last 3 weeks has gotten a lot better, but they're still not the Clemson that we used to see in the last few years.
And rumor has it Venables might be leaving, might be going to Oklahoma. I heard that too.
I think that would be devastating to Clemson because he's one of those assistants who've been there so long. You've got that continuity. The recruits know he's going to be there. So I think that would be devastating to Clemson.
Yeah. So I pulled this up. Billy Napier is the new head coach at Florida. He was at Louisiana. Let's see. And Clay Helton is the new head coach at Georgia Southern, which is kind of interesting. Jim Morrow, you know that he's going to UConn.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a shit show.
And who else? You got... They haven't published it here yet, but we know Lincoln Riley's going to USC.
Matt Campbell is expected to be named the coach at Washington, what I heard earlier today.
Okay. Well, you got Justin Fuente. He's still available. He may end up somewhere. We're still up in the air on who's going to be the TCU's looking for a new head coach.
I could have sworn they got somebody already.
Yeah. Mike Gundy got extended. PJ Fleck got extended, which is always a smart move. PJ Fleck's probably end up bouncing from Minnesota at some point. I just don't know when it's happening. Scott Frost, he has been retained, so he gets one more year. He's got to get a quarterback in the portal.
He does, and he's not a bad coach.
No,
I just kind of feel sorry for him a little bit.
Yeah.
So one game we didn't talk about was Houston. Houston won. They're ranked number 24 in the country. They beat UConn. UConn's 1-11. It's hard to do.
Right.
But they beat UConn pretty handily, 45-17. Most importantly, why I'm even talking about this game is they're going to play Cincinnati in the AAC championship game next week. Cincinnati is going to play a ranked opponent, another ranked opponent, and maybe if they win with some style points, they can kind of lock in their spot in the playoff. I've been saying for weeks I didn't think Cincinnati was going to get in. I've also been saying before anybody gets mad that I'm not a Cincinnati hater. I'm a fan of Cincinnati. I like them to get in. As I've said long ago, I love the new blood in the playoffs. I just felt if things kind of played out the way I thought they would get jumped. Well, this whole weekend was perfect for them. Or starting last weekend too. Oregon goes down. Then this week, Ohio State goes down and Oklahoma goes down because I still think if Oklahoma had beat Oklahoma State, would have been they would have beat the 7th ranked team of the country, would have played them again most likely in the Big 12 championship game, so it'd be another ranked win. 10-1, 11-1 conference champion, 12-1 conference champion at that point, with 2 back-to-back wins versus ranked opponents, 3 actually if you count Baylor. They could have got in. So Cincinnati really needed some of those teams to lose, and that's what happened. So it's setting it up to play ranked Houston in the AAC championship game, lock in their spot in the playoffs, which I think is going to happen.
Well, there's no guarantee. The only team that has a guaranteed trip to the dance right now is Georgia.
I saw that.
They're getting in.
It says that they have like a 99% chance of getting in now, even if they lose to Alabama.
They've been.
I just look at the committee and see them really wanting to find a way to get Notre Dame and Ohio State back in due to the massive fan bases and alumni bases, all that money for those two teams. It might be a long shot.
Ohio State's out.
I agree, but I still
they want to put Notre Dame in
the back of my mind. I think that maybe they might try to screw Georgia to get Notre Dame in, but I'm not saying that's going to happen. That's just something in the back of my mind I'm thinking about.
Yeah. Well, week in, week out, Georgia has been the best team in the country.
Georgia should beat Alabama next week.
Should 6.5 point favorite as of right now.
Should beat them. I'm still skeptical because Alabama's Alabama. You don't ever want to play a pissed off Alabama. You know exactly what they're going to be pissed off about. They almost lost to freaking Auburn in the Iron Bowl, the most hated rival. Every time Alabama has a shit game, they come back and have a firestorm of a game. So we'll see what happens. But Georgia should be able to push around that offensive front and create some havoc in the backfield for Bryce Young.
And for the first time in probably over a decade, Georgia is the better team on the field.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Friday night.
Conference championship weekend.
That's right. It's the most important weekend of the year. Oregon takes on Utah, number 11 against number 19. We've seen what happened a few weeks ago.
8 o'clock at night at ABC. This is a huge game for both programs. I actually think Oregon needs to win it worse than Utah. If Oregon loses this game, I know they won the Pac-12 last year. I just kind of see maybe them having some trouble in the recruiting if they lose this game.
Yeah, you see the price for this ticket, $55. They're in Vegas. We should skip work.
That's where the
Allegiant Stadium.
Stadium where the Raiders play.
Right. It's a new stadium.
Wow.
So we should blow off work Friday, catch a flight, go check the game out.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's $55. It's crazy. Saturday.
Noon.
At noon, Baylor, Oklahoma State.
Noon for conference championship.
That's right.
Baylor, Oklahoma State, number 8 Baylor, number 7 Oklahoma State. As of now, those are the rankings. Noon. I'm thinking Oklahoma State's going to take them. I don't know what's going on with Bohannon. I can't imagine if he even plays, he's going to be 100%.
All right.
I'm thinking Oklahoma State rolls big.
Yep. Kent State against Northern Illinois. I don't even know what conference this is, but whatever. It's a noon game. Ford Field. Utah State, San Diego State. That's the 3 o'clock on Fox. Let's see. Okay. Georgia, Alabama, 4 o'clock CBS. $358. You can get a ticket to this game right
Dang,
now.
that's expensive.
That's a pricey ticket.
4 o'clock, and then Houston versus Cincinnati is also at 4. That ticket's $96. That's not bad. That's being played in Cincinnati. So basically, they're playing a home game for the conference championship game. Good for them.
That is
Clap it up for Cincinnati.
That's right. Michigan, Iowa, which is a game you need to be watching. Michigan wins. They're in.
Yep, 8 o'clock on Fox. This is what's kind of I don't get about the Big Ten. The Big Ten's notorious for having their best games at noon, but they're going to put their conference championship game at night. It's almost like Big Ten and their fans are allergic to having night games, which I find odd. But this game's at night. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana, where it always is. Night game. I think Michigan is going to roll Iowa by 17.
Okay. Fair enough.
Probably by 20. I'm going to go 20. They're going to beat them by 20.
Pittsburgh takes on Wake Forest, 17 versus 18. This is for the ACC title. Bank of America Stadium, I guess that's Charlotte. That's 8 o'clock.
Yeah, they always play the ACC championship game in Charlotte. Couldn't tell you who's going to win this game. No idea. Because I know Hartman for Wake Forest is good. He can throw, he can run. Pittsburgh, Kenny Pickett, guy's awesome. Great quarterback. No idea who's going to win this game. I guess it's just going to come down to whose defense plays better. Right. So I'm not making a prediction because I have no idea.
And the last game of the regular season playoff week or conference title weekend is USC, California.
11 p.m.
Apparently this game was postponed like a month ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know the details behind it, but it was postponed. Fortunately for the Pac-12, this game doesn't really matter. So.
No, I mean, USC's got a new QB that's started the last couple games. I believe he's a freshman. No idea what happened to Keaton Slovis. I haven't really been paying too much attention to USC, although I like watching them. They've got a lot of good wide receivers. Their top guy went out earlier this year for the season, but they're a good wide receiver group. They just haven't been the USC of old. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Lincoln Riley turn that program around. And then probably make the playoffs 4 years out of 5 and lose in the first round to Ohio State or an SEC team.
Well,
I have zero respect for that guy now. I think that's such a bitch move to leave Oklahoma like that.
Yeah. So we mentioned it yesterday about, we were watching the Ohio State-Michigan game, pregame, and they were doing game day and it was snowing. And I was mentioning that I really would like to see the season move back 2 weeks so we could have December football because I enjoy watching these games, middle of December, it's snowing, things are crazy. It's exciting football to me.
I agree. I kind of believe that's the way football was meant to be played. As someone who played football, playing in the snow is much more fun. Right. I was a receiver looking up, seeing the ball against that dark gray sky, the snow, and just to me it was always easier to see the football. I enjoy those games. Watching that Penn State Michigan State game was so much fun. It snowed so hard in that game. It was hard to see Penn State's uniforms or their players in the field. I enjoy it. I do enjoy those early September games where we can go in the game in shorts and flip-flops. I like that as well.
I don't like it.
I posed the question to the group, and basically it was like 90% of the responses were in favor of playing cold weather games. So whatever, definitely
just
food
moving
for
the
thought.
season back 2 weeks and just getting a few more games in December would be wonderful.
Kind of cool.
It would be cool. It'd be cold, but it'd be cool.
Yeah.
That concludes this week's episode. We are going to come back to you next Sunday with the reviews of the games, and hopefully we should know Sunday who's going to be in.
Yeah, Sunday at noon is the playoff selection show, so they like to talk for about 50 minutes, and right before 1, they usually release the 4 playoff teams.
Yeah.
So should be fun. Looking forward to talking about conference championship week with you guys, and enjoy.
You guys have a great week.
See ya.